Hello, hello. Thank you for watching the amazing Women in Optometry series. I'm Dr. Maria Sampalis. Our guest today is Dr. Stephanie Brown. Stephanie Brown is known in the industry, and I wanted to have her on the show. She's an inspiring woman, a lot of great energy, a lot of great things that she's doing for optometry and her community. So, welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you for having me, Maria. This is truly an honor. This has been a blessing this whole past couple of months for me, in fact. Um, and I just want to encourage your listeners who are on the battlefield of service, as we as optometrists are, that um, your deeds don't go unseen. Because just recently, I have been recognized by not only my state association, but also my alumni of my optometry school. So, what you do in service to others is not unseen, even though you might have been doing it for 42 years, like like me, but it's still quite a blessing.
Yeah, congratulations on your award. For those of you that do not know Dr. Brown, she received her Doctor of Optometry from Illinois College of Optometry in 1978 and then a master's in education in 1987. Currently practicing optometrist at Plano Optometrics. She recently served as clinical director of optical Chicago Public Schools Mobile Vision Program, served past president as National Optometric Association, a member of the Essilor Vision Foundation's board of directors, and has been an adjunct faculty as well for the optometry schools in Alabama and Midwestern Chicago. And she is also the executive director of Plano Child Development Center, a nonprofit vision care corporation, which specializes in vision education and helps with vision developmental problems. She's lectured all over the country on this and helped different organizations, educators, and parent groups. And her achievements have been recognized in the industry. Recently, as ICO Humanitarian Award and alumni from the Alumni Council, and past week AOA Key Person Award. In the past, the National Optometric Association Founders Award in 1998, and the list goes on and on. And it's such an honor to have you on for all the things that you've accomplished over your career. And what made you kind of get into optometry in 1978 when it was more male dominated profession?
Well, one thing I encourage young people to do is if to volunteer or either work in different industries if you want to be in health, work in the health field. I was blessed to have a father that was an optometrist and had an office. So, of course, I've been getting my eyes examined all my life. But I never, and then he encouraged all his 6 children to work in the office in any capacity, whether you were cleaning the bathrooms, working the front desk, or working in the optical store. I mean, we all worked there in some capacity. But the one area that I fell in love with as a junior in high school was he had a specialty in the area of vision therapy. And in Chicago at the time, uh, Medicaid did not pay for even not only eye exams and definitely not vision therapy. So he started this non-for-profit organization called the Plano Child Development Center. So we can service children and adults even, but who have these vision and learning and performance problems and are unable to afford any kind of specialty service such as vision therapy. So I would watch the children come in with low self-esteem, bouncing off the roof, feeling bad about themselves, having poor grades. So then I would see them leaving when they finished the program. Oh man, going from failing to being a B student, calming down, feeling really good about themselves. So I was encouraged to work in this area. So I worked as a vision therapist assistant. And then I decided, I want to do this. I want to go into optometry. So that helped me. So I knew what I wanted to do as a senior in high school. So I kind of guided my efforts. So I prepared and I was able to actually interviewed for optometry school at the age of 19. So that's because I knew what I kind of wanted to do. So I was blessed to be accepted into the Illinois College of Optometry. But because most of the students at the time, they had more preparation than I did. They had degrees. I had no degree. It was a real challenge. So I had to work extra hard to get the same results. But, I had great supportive staff at ICO, and I was here in Chicago, so I had my family support here too, so I didn't feel alone. Um, Although sometimes at the school, I did kind of feel alone because in my particular class of maybe 140 something students, it was only about 14 women. And then in the minority category, it was only 4 or 5 in the entire school of underrepresented minorities. So sometimes that's a lonely feeling. So you have to rise up and stay positive. So my underrepresented minority students that kind of were, and it was during the era of, the Black Power movement, and you're having a real thrust in your identity. So I had some colleagues that were very bitter. Um, and then I had other colleagues who felt I was entitled because my father was an optometrist, so I should be doing things. So, I mean, I had different types of stress. And of course, I had the white dominated males who actually said to me, I took the place of one of their counterparts. So I had a lot of obstacles, and we won't even discuss certain faculty. But you can rise up in spite of that. If you have a goal, you have to keep having a goal. And I love to serve. And this was the area I wanted to serve in. So you find the people who are going to support you. So I had my friends. Fortunately, I was in Chicago, so I had my some of my oldest friends that were there to support me, as well as my biggest cheerleaders, my father and mother. So I was blessed in that. So I was able to finish in 1978, as she said.
Yeah, I mean it's heartbreaking for me to hear, that you've had those discussions over the years, and it's been difficult, being a minority in that age of optometry, and it's still underrepresented in our industry right now.
Right.
What do you say to young, females, and minorities in the industry now as they hear your story, and maybe sometimes it's still coming up, unfortunately.
I just encourage them to be around positive forces. Don't let the negatives knock you down. Today, we have great groups such as the National Optometric Association that will connect you with other people like you, and they have a lot of support groups for you. We also have Black Eye Care Perspectives, who actually they've started a group for pre-optometry students to help them to prepare and find an optometry school and prepare for it. So I commend those young people that started that organization and all of the doctors that participate and support it. So we have, so you have that. So don't ever feel alone. And if it's something you're passionate about, it's like and then you're gifted in it, that will make a way for you. So don't let anybody turn you away from what you feel God intended for you to do. So and I'm always, she'll share my email. You can always contact me, and I will definitely be there to encourage you and assist in any way that I am able to do.
Yeah, you're a great leader. I mean, you were also the president of the National Optometric Association. Can you give us about your role in that, and how you became, the president for other people that aspire to make a change in the industry?
Well, my father and his partner, Dr. Henry Moore, were also past presidents. And then my current business partner, who's the four of us have been in private practice, Dr. Joseph McCrae, was also on the board of directors. So they were there from the kind of the beginning. So it was kind of, I was just surrounded and impacted by around these great leaders. So that pretty much kind of set my path. But I was like most people, I just wanted to be a bench. Uh, optometrist, which means just sat on the sidelines and reap the benefits of what the leaders and the board were doing. But then I had some colleagues that said, nope, you've been coming to the NOA convention and participating for years. Now it's time for you to step into leadership. And then I kind of saw another gift I had of networking once I got on the board and was able to introduce a lot of different corporations to our particular organization, which they had never heard of. So, and then I was able to, as a result of that, attend and meet a lot of the deans and presidents at, I guess I must have visited over 14 optometry schools, and really be able to network with them and voice the concerns of the NOA. So I just want to just encourage the young people not to be discouraged because they can't climb right into the board right away. Maybe you have to start at the state level. And I think that's what a lot of them want to do, but it kind of takes time. And you have to learn to work with people where they are. So sometimes young people don't like to listen to the senior seasoned optometrists because they want to change it right away, the way it is. And sometimes you have to get in the door and work with those seasoned ones who should be passing the torch. I'm a big encourager of passing the torch to the younger generation, but I want them to be wise in taking that torch. Just don't do something sporadically because you're upset, and then next thing you know, the organization is gone. So just be wise in working with both the younger generation and the seasoned generation, so that you can all accomplish that one mission. And so, like, for example, the mission of the NOA is advancing the visual health of minority population. So if that's your mission, stay focused on your mission and don't get into a lot of issues and differences. So, and then I think you can get your goal accomplished, because in my case, one of my goals was to not only get more visibility with corporate, but also to get more visibility in advocacy. And in advocacy, you have to work some type of way, get into the federal government. So one of the things I wanted to do was to network more with our congressional leaders. And because we're the NOA, it was not as difficult to be a participant and to get some connection with the Congressional Black Caucus, so that they can become aware of the needs that we have in our underserved communities, and having all of our patients kind of get that access to care that they need. So that's the opportunity leadership allowed me to have. And then what it did also is open doors for you to be recognized and to participate. I wanted to make one correction that you did say I was on the Essilor Vision Foundation board. That's correct. But everyone knows Essilor and Luxottica merged as a corporation. And so the boards also merged. And so some of us stayed on each board. And I was blessed enough to be asked to remain on the combined Essilor Luxottica board of directors. So
yeah,
that's where I am right now.
Yeah, and you received awards from ICO Humanitarian Award from the alumni. I mean, it's always an honor to be acknowledged by your colleagues,
Right.
and
Yes.
and you've done so much. And I think you went to a specialty practice in optometry. Tell us about that, because I think that has helped shape the community and shape our industry on charity and helping people that don't have resources.
Correct. It's a challenge, and what I'm gonna so in my site location that students will come to do their externship, they come as a primary care, because we're located at 5401 South Wentworth, which is kind of like sandwiched between the Inglewood neighborhood of Chicago and the Woodlawn area of Chicago. So we're kind of like right in the middle off of I-94, very easily accessible to all people. So it made it much easier to give the service to people who can't afford the service. It's a challenge, I'm telling you, to have a practice, because we have not-for-profit, we have private practice, but to have a practice that services people who have a lot of money and people who have no money. So your optician has to deal with a person who's coming in ready to buy their insurance pair plus an extra pair and spend $900 with their insurance, and also service a patient with the same attitude that's coming in that says, nope, I want what is covered with my insurance, with my Medicaid. And the Medicaid, it's like a certain level, and they're gonna do their own glasses. And so it's not, and you have a limited selection. So you're not able to do your art as an optician sometimes, but you have to still keep that same attitude and not look down on patients, because like Dr. Moore would tell me, he says, you can't always address somebody by the way they look and judge what they're going to spend by the way they look or what color their skin is or how they're dressed, because you never know. You just have to treat everyone the same. But the way that we've tried to balance it is to have certain times and days where the population of the Medicaid are actually appointed, because in our community it would monopolize our entire schedule, and our private pay insurance or private pay patients probably wouldn't get a slot. So we've been able to kind of balance that way and still be successful, but that's quite challenging. I'm telling you. So if you are a young person and you getting started, I wouldn't advise you to go out and do that right away in a private practice, because it's very difficult. Because when you're waiting on your monies, especially in government situations, sometimes things happen and you don't get it, but you have to still continue servicing the patients. So, but it's been very rewarding seeing generational patients. So, patients coming back. I mean, this is on a regular basis. Oh, I remember, now they're bringing their children, or then their mother is coming. So it's the mother, it's the daughter, and then it's that daughter's child. So, and then sometimes it's her mother. So sometimes you actually, in the span of our practice, you can see 4 generations of patients, so that they keep coming back. And I think the blessing is a lot of them came to us when they didn't have much and they were on Medicaid. But now that they have insurance or they have money to spend, they still come back. So I think,
Yeah, because they feel that you took care of them, and you didn't push them away if they didn't have income, or they're like, and they want to support you, right? People
right,
that
and
you work with, that you help,
correct,
want to
and
support you.
provide the same service. So we don't treat them differently just because you have Medicaid. We don't treat you. You get the same comprehensive eye exam as anybody else. You're not going to get in and out of there in 5 minutes. So it's going to be a different type of practice setting where everybody gets the care that they need.
Excellent. Now tell us about your charitable situation, the
Oh,
organization that you're doing.
so the Plano Child Development Center was established in 1959 by my father, Dr. Robert Johnson, and his partner, Dr. Henry Moore, as a 501c3, not until later on, after it was chartered in 1965. But the organization's purpose is to identify, evaluate, and treat economically disadvantaged children, and especially in underserved areas. So every year we contribute, we try to not only try to get grants and foundations to help us and assist us. But we also have an annual event, celebration, of annual vision care benefit, which is coming up October the 14th. If anybody is in their heart wants to help us, and we need a lot of help because this really supports our services. So the website is www.planovision.org, and you can donate online, or you can mail it to us at 5401 South Wentworth, Chicago, Illinois 60609. And make sure you put Suite 14A, because we're in a mall setting and the entire mall is 5401 South Wentworth. We would greatly appreciate any contributions that any of you could share with us. so that
Yeah.
we can continue providing vision therapy for a fraction of the cost of what it's really valued at. And we can continue going into the field, servicing after school programs and daycares and schools where the parents don't follow through for whatever reason. And we go into the schools and actually conduct the eye exams on the children and come back with their glasses. And even kids who can't pay for glasses, we're part of the VSP voucher program. So sometimes they come with that. And also we are a partner with the Essilor Vision Foundation's Changing Life Through Lens program. So any child, if the parents say, well, he's already used his benefit, we can still give him, if he has a current prescription, or if we did the exam and we can't get the insurance isn't going to pay for the glasses, we allow them to get glasses for free from this Changing Life Through Lens program with the Essilor Vision Foundation. So we really have a passion to help children.
Excellent. Yeah, and I'll post it in my network too, so all the people that don't see the video have it. But even so, even if it's not now, they can still, if they see this video 3 months from now, they can still
always ongoing. Yes.
Yeah.
And we've even had a few people that just contribute monthly. They just kind of give us, like, I don't know, they might give us $10 a month, $19 a month, but they'll just make it a monthly donation, which is definitely very helpful.
It's excellent. Now, let's say people are inspired by all the work that you're doing, and they want to do this in their hometown, and if they want to, try to be involved with Essilor Vision Foundation, Onesight. Can you provide your email, like if someone wants to get started, because you inspired them?
Sure. My email is the initials of my name, S as in Stephanie, J as in Johnson, B as in Brown, Vision, VISION @gmail.com. Yeah. So you can always contact me if you want some information of how to get started with a non-for-profit for yourself. But my advice is, and what I tell my students is, get well in what you do. Whatever you're going to do, and if you want to specialize in children's vision, go the steps beyond and get involved with OEP and COVD and network with doctors who do vision therapy, so you can get good at what you do, and then you can make money at it. So you get around these doctors, they make a lot of, people say you don't make money in vision therapy. These doctors make a lot of money, but they're good at what they do. And many people always tell me, I don't know why you just giving. I'm not giving the service away. I am being blessed to serve. So, I'm not like rich like they are in money, let's say, but I'm rich in other ways. So
experiences, good deeds, things like that. It comes back to you, right? I always say you give out even if I say, hey, I don't need all the blessings, as long as it goes to my kids, we're good, right? It's the same thing. Now, for you as a female in the industry coming up, I'm sure you've heard some things over the years on how did you balance being a mother, having a business, doing all this stuff in the industry. I've experienced it. I've heard some biases over the years saying, hey, you're super successful, so you might not be a good mom. You not give your kids this attention. And I've talked to a bunch of females in the industry on this topic that have been super successful. I want your insight on it now that your children are older. How are your children doing? How did you accomplish what you did while balancing a family?
Well, at the time when my children were young, my husband was really working retail, so he wasn't able to help me as much. And so that was a real big challenge, is trying to, especially with children under 5. So fortunately, I'm still in Chicago and I had the family support that I needed, but they were working too. So I ended up keeping the same hours as the office, but I was in a group practice. I don't know how to do it if I was solo. It's like I can't even tell you. If it wasn't for being in a group practice, I don't think I could have been the leader I was, being able to be flexible enough to travel or take off when I had the babies. But I had a staff that really kept me on track, because I remember when I did take off for my youngest, my son, he was born around now in October. And I said, oh boy, I'm just going to just take off 6 months. After Christmas, my office manager said, okay, that's enough now. Now it's time for you to come back. but they were very supportive. I was able to, have a space for the children if I had to take them to work. And now I have three grandchildren.
Oh, we got disconnected here. Let's hold on, see if she can come back. Um, give it a second here. We
I'm
lost you
back.
for a second. Go ahead.
I don't know. I think I had a little internet problem. But I have three grandchildren under 3 and under, and basically I like to spend time with them. So that's something that now, even if I'm flexible enough to have wonderful ancillary associate doctors working with me, and so I don't really have to see as many patients except for the ones that request me, and then basically sign off on my externs and discuss cases with my associate doctors. So that's been wonderful. So if my children have to drop their babies off, I have a pack and play, and I have a stroller. I'm ready to go, grandma. Or they drop them off, or they come back to work to pick them up from me. So it's nice if you're in private practice and you can do that. But I would definitely advise a team. Now, as my children became school age, I do have one regret, that none of my children actually got into a team sport, because really I couldn't do all of those Saturdays and after school. But the Wednesdays when I was off, I was very involved, and I would go on trips with them when I could go on the trips with them. Or I felt very strong about Black History Month, and I would, if they didn't have one at their school, I would help them with diversity, and I would participate and carry on the whole Black History pageant. So I got involved where I could get involved, but that might be one of the biggest regrets, is that I wasn't able to. But neither one of my children were athletes in a sense, and in fact, both of them, because my husband and I both work for ourselves now. They both said, "Oh no, I'm going to work for somebody, and I am going to not do any kind of service." Yet they both ended up in a service profession. So my son is currently the director of social justice for the School of Journalism at Northwestern University, and he's doing quite well. He's a dynamic speaker, somebody who would not even get up in front of people when he was 7. He would cry to say a speech at church. But now it's unbelievable how well he gets up, and he gets so many different consulting positions to speak on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then my daughter, the biggest one that wasn't going to do service, she is currently a public defender in Cook County, and has been recognized for the great job she's doing in advocating for her client. So they both are doing a great job. And I think it's something else that I think some of our listeners might be dealing with, and it's that aging parents. So one of the biggest challenges I had was having my mother-in-law, who had Alzheimer's, living with us, I guess for about 5 years before we just had to have her live in a nursing home, because it was a lot. That was, I think, the most challenging part, is having adolescent and young adolescent type of school age children, and having to rearrange your household so that you had an aging parent who they could watch deteriorate. I don't know if any of you have experienced having to live with someone who actually, you saw them when they were like pretty healthy, and she was healthy. It was just mentally that she changed. That was, and then balancing not just caretakers for your children, but now you have to balance caretakers for your mom, or my mother-in-law in my case. So I think that was the biggest challenge I had, as trying to have a work-life balance. happening at that time. But you have to learn it's too much. It was difficult to have to make the decision, but God lets things happen to let you know you don't have to be a superwoman, and when it's time. So that's the thing that I think was one of the most challenging things. And I think what I would have done differently is kind of gotten help a little sooner than that, before it really got to me, because I lost weight, I lost hair. I mean, you just cannot not take care of yourself and continue on. So, and don't feel bad about having to do this, but if you don't have support, and it was only my husband and I, the rest of that family wasn't able to participate in the care, so it was just a little bit much for us financially too. So, that's just one thing I would have done differently, is not waited so long before, because you still care. I remember going to see her in the nursing home, and my son was maybe a sophomore, because I was still picking him up from school the days I could, and my husband would on the other days. And he would say, "Why are we going to see her? She doesn't even know who we are." And I told him, I said, "Because what I want you to remember is, if I'm ever in this situation and that's where I have to be, I want someone to come and see me." And he had a chance to see how the difference in the staff when it's someone that comes to see about a person, and how it is for the people who have no one to see. And so I think he got a pretty good picture. And I pray that doesn't happen to me, but if so, he knows what my wishes are. So things happen for a reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you continue to evolve as a strong woman. I mean, as a leader, you take different roles, different hats you've worn over the years. Maybe you didn't go to the soccer games on Saturday, but the kids weren't athletic or they didn't want that. That's fine. You don't have to. There's not one path that you have to take. And now your kids are super successful. They had a role model to look up to, and I think that's the message that a lot of the young female ODs that want to have their own practice or want to be passionate to take on a position. And, your kids are going to be fine. You have the support, right? With my husband, we divide and conquer. We do what we can. If I can plan it, I do it. If it's last minute situation, I mean, can't cancel 20 patients off the books. My husband goes. He's an employee he's an engineer. It's a lot different. And then now, just a perspective on, I'm almost 40 years old. My parents are not that old, but maybe in 10 years, I mean, the situation comes up. So you think you're kind of over the threshold. Your kids are in high school. They're self-sufficient. Now you have other things to prepare. So this conversation's been super enlightening to me and inspiring to me, with everything that you've done and accomplished over the years. Now, being in your 42nd year of your career, what do you look forward to in doing at this point, as you kind of, ready for retirement?
Well, what I look forward to is selling this practice, because I am over the practice part. And everyone says, "Why do you want to do that? You have associates. You don't even have to work as hard." I said, "But I still have to be there. I still have to oversee it. I still have to pay the bills. I still have to manage." And that's the one thing that I would advise someone to do. If your specialty is being a clinician, do that. Just don't be cheap and hire someone to do that part of the job, because it's important for you to just be happy in doing what you're doing. But I'm tired of that part. So, I'm really ready to let that go, especially since my partner decided to kind of semi-retire, and it's a lot on me now. I said, okay, this is time. But the non-for-profit is my passion. One of my therapists that I've had for years, off and on, even when she went to work for someone else, she would always come back to support me, is currently in optometry school. And she contacted me and she said, "Dr. Stephanie, did you know that Plano is on the list of agencies that I could still work for?" Because she has a county job and she needs to be able to continue to pay off her loans, but she has to work in a place where, she's working a non-for-profit. I said, "Oh, I didn't realize that." I said, "Well, that's great." She said, "Well, are you serious about needing someone to run the non-for-profit, I said, definitely. I would love to not have to do the day-to-day for the non-for-profit. And you can oversee those therapy patients and do all of the parent conferences and, do all of the field work that we do. And I can just be on the Plano board. So my goal is to just be part of the Plano board and advocate for organized optometry and for any boards like the Essilor Luxottica board that has an emphasis on helping children's vision, where I can take time to do more of that. And advocate also with groups like I'm a fellow now with the National Academies of Practice, and the whole goal with them is they're working with just 14 different health professionals coming together for advocacy, and it's a great group to kind of reach people at the federal level to create change, to help give this service to more people in need. So I just want to take more time to do that, which I can't do, and also run the private practice. So, so my goal is just to be on the board of directors of the Plano Vision Foundation and help keep that going through me writing grants or getting funding for it to keep it going.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. You are an exceptional woman in the industry, someone that has inspired me and look up to. I'm sure a lot of females look up to you in the industry. You've paved the path for minorities in the industry as well, and you've done so much for the community. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me, Maria. It's been a pleasure.